We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Good afternoon. Californians have been concerned with the recent change in the medical malpractice, the negligence law that limits the amount of award or the money that someone can get. I am George Hassan, and you are watching Chai and Chat with George Hassan. Chai and Chat is the active voice of the Iranian American community and also serves as the gateway to that community throughout the world. To better understand the problem with the medical malpractice, we are talking with a law firm that is specializing in medical malpractice. Please, I'm proud to introduce the law firm. My apologies. The law firm is Rice and Broomfield out of San Fernando Valley, and I'm proud to introduce Ms. Linda Rice Esquire. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here.
Right off the bat, we'd like to ask you that some about yourself. About were you born and raised in California?
No, I was actually born in the suburbs of Detroit and moved to Southern California in 1966 when my dad was offered a position editing a magazine for Peterson Publishing Company. So I'm almost a native. I've been here since 1966.
Oh, so almost a Californian. Did you also go attend the law schools in California or something?
I did. I graduated from Loyola Law School. The law school itself is actually downtown. Graduated from Loyola in 1978.
1778. Wonderful. I was in your office, I believe sometime last year, that you mentioned a couple of things that I indeed, they're very interesting. But I would like you to speak to your viewers, your listeners, about the limit, the problem with the medical malpractice as how much a person can be awarded. Will you please?
I'd be happy to. In 1975, the California legislature passed legislation, a law called the Medical Injury Compensation Reform Act, which we refer to as MICRA. It was passed at the behest of the insurance industry and the California Medical Association. It was passed supposedly to address a medical malpractice insurance crisis, which today we know was pretty much a manufactured crisis. One of the things that the malpractice law did was to limit the amount of money that a patient could recover for injuries caused by a negligent healthcare provider. So in 1975, it was felt that $250,000 was an appropriate amount to compensate somebody for injuries resulting from medical malpractice and to protect doctors from being sued for more than that. Now, in 1975, you could have bought a nice house in Beverly Hills for $250,000. Today, that amount has never been changed. And so it's worked a terrible hardship on the people that I represent. In California, what most people don't realize is that if a child dies because a medical mistake is made, the family can recover no more than $250,000. There are some circumstances where you can obtain more than that. For example, all of the economic damages can be recovered. So if you have a $50,000 medical bill, in addition to the $250,000, you can recover the $50,000 in medical expenses. But for children, retired people, and a lot of women, the law has an unfair impact because they don't have very often the economic
advantages to
damages to
right.
recover. So that's the law. We've tried over the years to change it. I must say there are also a lot of other aspects to the law that are not well understood or well known by the public. So, for example, not only are damages capped in medical malpractice cases, but lawyers' fees are also capped. So that in the biggest cases that you handle, if for example, if you have a child, a baby who's been injured as a result of negligence that occurred during birth, the cost of providing care to that child over a lifetime might very well be $10 million.
Right.
If we're successful in proving that the injury occurred because of a medical mistake, that child is going to be able to recover that $10 million potentially. But attorney's fees on these cases are not what most people think of. I'm a contingency fee lawyer. I don't charge my clients anything for my time. I usually advance most of the costs associated with the litigation. And on a $2 million case, for example, I happen to know the percentage on that. If I were to settle a case or win a case for $2 million because there were substantial economic damages, the attorney's fees on that case would be about 18% because of the caps that are in place for attorney's fees. So there are many restrictions from the law, and they make it difficult for lawyers like me to help people, and that's the business I'm in, is to help people. It's a real problem.
Yeah. I understand that you are involved or doing something to remedy that deficit, that problem. And what can your listeners, your viewers, how can they help?
Well, we have tried over the years to negotiate a change to the law with the insurance industry and the California Medical Association. A real effort was made this year to do that, and it failed. They were just unwilling to make any change to this. This law has made insurance companies very, very wealthy. Insurance companies that insure doctors are probably among the most profitable insurance carriers today, and they like the steady stream of money that they're able to keep because there are fewer and fewer medical malpractice lawsuits being filed. So we collected signatures this year, and there's going to be a ballot initiative on the ballot in November. It's the Troy and Alana Pack Patient Safety Act. And it will do a number of things to try to address what is really a very serious problem in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The American Medical Association published an article recently that suggested that medical malpractice is the third leading cause of death in this country, behind heart disease and cancer.
Wow.
It's estimated that as many as 400,000 people or more a year die because of preventable medical mistakes. So the Troy and Alana Pack Patient Safety Act is designed to do a few things. It would require random drug testing of doctors. That's not done now. We drug test our bus drivers and our airline pilots and our athletes, but we do not drug test doctors. And the California Medical Association estimates that as many as 18 to 20% of doctors licensed in California will have a substance or alcohol abuse problem at some point during their careers. So
Wow.
that's one issue that will be addressed by this particular initiative. It will also initiate steps to prevent to prevent patients from doctor shopping for drugs. There is a database available that doctors could use to identify patients who may be consulting multiple doctors to get medication. The doctors have resisted being required to use this system. And one of the things the initiative would do would implement that. The third thing that the law would do, if it's passed in November, is raise the medical malpractice insurance cap. It would essentially adjust it for inflation over the last almost 40 years, so that the cap would go from $250,000 to about $1.1 million. It would not change the amount of money that lawyers can charge in these cases. So something that I would love for people to understand is, if you vote for this and it passes, 80 to 85% of the benefit of that increase in the cap would go to the patient or the patient's family, and not to the lawyer.
Right. Indeed, that's beautiful. From your perspective, what is the least you like about our California judicial system, about how?
That's an interesting question. I think that the thing that troubles me most about the civil justice system, generally speaking, not just in California, is that it has been under attack by the Chamber of Commerce, by the insurance industry, by professional associations like the American Medical Association for about 40 years now. And it's interesting that when people come to my office, very often they feel ashamed to be consulting a lawyer, because we've heard so much about frivolous lawsuits and jackpot justice and runaway juries. And although I'm sure some of that exists, it's a very small percentage of the kind of work that lawyers like me do. As I said earlier, I consider my job to be one of helping people. That's why I got into the work that I do. And anything that puts a barrier between my clients and the potential for them to achieve a just result is a problem for me. I think that our civil justice system works pretty darn well. There are ways that frivolous lawsuits, and I'm sure there are some of those. A frivolous lawsuit is one that has absolutely no merit, and I don't know why a lawyer would file something like that. You're just going to end up spending money on something that you're not going to get any return on.
Right.
But to the extent that there are frivolous lawsuits, there are mechanisms in place in our system of justice to get rid of those cases. Very few really frivolous lawsuits are ever going to see the inside of a courtroom.
I was very impressed in your office the way you explained a highly publicized case, the case of McDonald, that hot coffee, and how that the lady, the plaintiff, was able to recover quite a bit of money. The trick in there that you explained, I think your listeners and viewers would like probably to hear that, and I'm pretty sure they'll enjoy.
The McDonald's coffee case has been the bane of my existence ever since it came down, because it did sound, if you heard about it in a 15-second soundbite, it sounded like a ridiculous result. A lady who spills hot coffee on herself, and a jury awards, I forget the exact amount, but it was $2.6 million or something. And I thought it sounded ridiculous until I read an article on the front page of the Wall Street Journal. Now, the Wall Street Journal is not exactly a bastion of liberal thinking, and they generally don't like trial lawyers. So I was surprised to find a very, very detailed account of what had happened and how the jury came up with its decision. First of all, you need to know that the lady in that case, I think she suffered third-degree burns over 16% of her body,
right.
and it was all in her groin area and very, very sensitive area of her body.
Indeed.
She had multiple surgeries. Skin grafts were necessary. And as I understand it, and I may get some of the figures wrong here because I don't have this committed to memory, but I think she had... I know she had multiple surgeries, and when she first went to McDonald's and made a claim, all she wanted was her out-of-pocket medical expenses to be paid. And I don't remember how much that was, whether it was $12,000 or $18,000. It was a figure sort of like that.
The case would have closed then, probably.
That's all she wanted.
Yeah.
And and McDonald's would not deal with her. So she found a lawyer, and I have to say I'm rather impressed. I don't know if I would have been willing to take on that case, but he was, and he did the work that we lawyers do. He found out that McDonald's had been sued many, many times. There had been a lot of people that had been injured by its coffee. So he started to do additional research, and he found out that McDonald's served its coffee, I think it was 40 degrees hotter than the industry standard.
Right.
And it did this because for a couple of reasons. One of them was the hotter the water you use to brew coffee, the more coffee you get, the more
coffee
cups you get from a pound of coffee. And McDonald's will refill your coffee cup for free as long as you're in the restaurant.
Who wants to refill?
But they figured that it took enough time for the coffee to be cool enough to drink that you probably had already left, and they wouldn't have to refill your coffee. So the jury found that McDonald's had been negligent in, it wasn't serving a beverage really. They had an expert who testified you couldn't drink coffee at the temperature that it was served. It would just burn you. So you had to wait for some period of time before it really became a beverage. And
the CEO made a big mistake of saying that we sell. Is that
CEO,
I remember
the CEO said, I don't know. Let's say that the jury awarded $2.5 million or 2 point whatever. The CEO took the stand and said, yes, we've had lots of claims, but people like our coffee the way we serve it. We sell $1.2 million worth of coffee every day. And that was repeated over and over again. What the attorney found out was that in one of its settlements, McDonald's had offered to do market research to see if reducing the temperature of the coffee would adversely impact sales, if they would lose money if they reduced the temperature of the coffee. And they hadn't done that. And the jury was quite upset about that. So what did the jury do? It awarded the plaintiff I think it was $200,000 for her injuries, and it found that she was 20% responsible for tipping the coffee over in her lap, and that reduced the verdict by 20%. But then it decided that it had to award damages to punish McDonald's because it knew this had been a problem for some time and hadn't taken care of it. And what did that jury do to arrive at this crazy, crazy verdict? It penalized McDonald's for 2 days of coffee sales. That's how they got to the $2.5 million.
Wow.
Because McDonald's sells that much coffee in 2 days, and they wanted to send a message to McDonald's that would hurt, but certainly was not a huge, huge amount of money. Now, what the public doesn't know is that McDonald's, first of all, the trial court judge reduced the verdict, which he has the right to do, and then McDonald's took the case up on appeal, and it was ultimately settled for a small fraction of the jury's initial verdict. Yes.
Wow.
So when you hear about the McDonald's coffee case,
Yeah,
it really doesn't stand for a crazy jury that didn't know what it was doing. I think in retrospect, if you think about punishing McDonald's for 2 days of coffee
You
sales,
can't sell 2 days. Mm-hmm.
I think that was pretty
But
appropriate.
there's some other thing goes with the coffee too. So if people who want to have drink a cup of coffee, not only they want to buy something else, and that'll be quite a bit of that would damage McDonald's quite a bit. Yeah.
Well, it was I think it, once I understood it, I thought it was a very, very interesting result. And everybody, even very conservative people who were just angry about that verdict, if you tell them the whole story, they go, wow, that seems to make sense. You know, it makes good sense.
Yes. What do you think of what is going on in the world when it comes to that crime-wise?
Crime-wise?
Yes, in our planet, in our world.
You know, I do civil litigation, and I think it was a good choice for me. I don't handle criminal cases myself. I think there's a lot to be worried about. I would sure like to see us have a civil, reasoned discussion about the subject of gun violence and what we might be able to do about it. It's such a hot button topic, and it really seems to me that it's something that reasonable people should be able to come up with some solutions for what we see going on in this country and south of our border in terms of gun violence. It troubles me a lot that if you start to talk about any kind of gun control, you know, even taking automatic weapons off the streets, we can't have that discussion because there's a small faction of people that are part of the NRA who refuse to consider any type of gun control. And for me as a mom, and I'm married to a man who's got 4 or 5 guns. He likes to hunt, and I think we should be able to have a reasoned discussion about that issue in this country, although I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Most Iranian Americans are gravely concerned with the jihadis, the terrorists, the Islamists using our constitution kind of against us. Do you have any thought on that?
You know, these are big questions.
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot, huh?
No, and I think they're
I can change that.
I think they're important questions. We have a tension that has gone on in this country, particularly since 9/11, but it's always been a tension in this country between our Constitution and the civil rights that we enjoy and expect and that make this country such a special place in the world, and the need for security, which is going to always infringe to some degree on the freedoms that we think we enjoy in this country. So I think
Yeah.
we're in a time when we're struggling to make that balance, to feel that we've got adequate security without trampling on the very thing that makes this country special. And I don't think we're there yet. I mean, we've got the issues regarding surveillance and the world's changed a lot with the
Indeed.
internet
Indeed.
and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
that our leaders, hopefully with the feedback from their constituents like you and I, come to an understanding about what we can do to secure ourselves without changing the character of this country and the rights we enjoy in it.
Uh, if you had an opportunity to speak to millions of young, aspiring boys and girls who want to become future lawyers and go in law, uh, what would you like to say to them?
I think that the practice of law is, although um, lawyers have become the butt of many, many jokes, um, I think it's a noble and should be a respected profession. Um, in the kind of work I do, which is generally personal injury litigation, I represent somebody who has been injured because of the negligence of somebody else,
And you actually help them.
and I try to help. Um, it's an interesting profession. I think that if you are intellectually curious, it's the kind of work that you could never get bored doing. And that's one of the things that I think attracted me to the profession. Um, I I like being challenged all the time, and every lawsuit presents a different challenge. So it's hard to get through law school. It's hard to get through that first
Yes.
year in particular. But if it's something you have a passion for, then I would highly encourage uh, kids that are thinking about this area to do some investigation and talk to some lawyers.
Yes. You are very correct. I believe you have to have a passion. You have to dream about something that you really badly you want it, and then you go after it. That's what we do in life. We always dream about. It's my belief, of course. It's not might be that you first dream about what you want to do, what you like to do, and
Uh-huh.
then make it come true.
And for a trial lawyer like me, every single trial is like that. I mean, you begin
Wow.
with a dream and you try to realize that dream on behalf of the client you represent. And if you're successful, you can really make a difference in somebody's life.
Yeah. I uh, I really congratulate you the fact that I came to your office once, and the way you explained things to me, I still stay back in my head because it was so precise. So you took your time out to explain things to me, and the way perhaps no one else did. And I just want to say I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I remember that day very well. We had a lot of fun.
Thank you very much for being my guest today
My
on
pleasure.
Chai and Chat with George Hassan.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be
Thank
here.
you.
Coming back, so talk about a break. You going to a break?
Yeah,
What to talk about?
I didn't hear what.
Go to a break. Tell you we'll be right back.
Yeah. Yes, I'm George Hassan, and with Chai and Chats, we'll be right back.
lo sai, non è vero che non ti voglio più. Lo so, non mi credi, non hai fiducia in me. Roberta, ascoltami, ritorna ancora, ti prego, con te, ogni istante, vera felicità, ma io non capivo, non t'ho saputo amare. Roberta, perdonami, ritorna ancora vicino a me. Roberta, ascoltami, ritorna ancora, ti prego, con te, ogni istante, vera felicità, ma io non capivo, non t'ho saputo amare. Ascoltami, perdonami, ritorna ancora vicino a me.
Good afternoon. The world is engulfed by Islamist, jihadist, terrorists that started from my old country and uh, Iran, and it has spread throughout the world. I'm George Hassan, and you are watching Chai and Chat with George Hassan. Chai and Chat is the active voice of Iranian American community and is also the gateway to and for that community throughout the world. For too long, the American policymakers, the White House, the State Department, the writers have they have been exceptionally cordial and carefully steered uh, clear of dispute on the problem with uh, these ayatollahs, the mullahs, those who run the country, and they are actually creating problem for the rest of the world. In case of Iran and the revolution, we are spending a staggering amount of money. I believe in 2006 was approximately $43 billion on intelligence. And yet, the information that the White House State Department had about Iran before the revolution were all incorrect and unbelievably bad. They made decision on some advisor give decision that if we get rid of the semi-democratic government of the Shah and deal with the mullahs of Shah of Iran, of course, we can kill like two birds with one stone, so to speak. Islam traditionally is against communism, and second, we can deal with the mullahs on an oil situation better than we can deal with the Shah. Therefore, it's all like a winner. So they pulled the rug from under a semi-democratic government of the Shah and handed it to some Farsi-speaking Arab clergies who have no loyalty to either Iran or any part of the world. And if those of you who are over 50 years old, I would like you to kind of close your eyes, if it's possible, for a moment and think how the world, the Middle East, and Iran was before the 1979 revolution. We know that how after revolution what happened. Iran was a partner with the United States, ally, and enjoyed a very good and kind of modern in time, and right after the revolution, that when these Arab ayatollahs took over, there were just a handful of them. When our administration, Carter administration, the British and the oil companies decided to do that, they did not spend any time in looking at who are these people that we give them the helm, we are giving them the country of Iran, that we are pulling the rug from under the Shah. They did not do any. The people who were advising Carter administration, like Henry Kissinger and Brzezinski and Dr. Bernard Lewis, they did not spend a minute or a day in the, let's say, the holy city of Qom or Karbala and Najaf in Iraq to go to this to see what they are teaching. They thought that, okay, these people are holy men. They're wearing the religious cloth, holy cloth, and they are probably better than the secular community, the Iranians. The revolution changed the world. As we know now, they immediately started to get hostages, American as hostage, and we know that 444 days, many Americans became hostages. They started the Hezbollah organization that is terrorist. They started the bombing the airplanes in the air, they started to influence other countries that to fight, to terrorize people, and they're still doing it today. Uh, I'm just thinking that Khomeini, who was the leader, uh, the religious leader, he was banished from Iran because of his rebel rousing talk that we are going to take care of, we are going to control this country, Islam is going to do this, Islam is going to do that. And so he was banished to neighboring country of Iraq. And actually, he had some, they were every month he was getting so much money. You are watching. Okay. Uh, Khomeini, before the revolution, promised Iranians that whatever you have now is nothing compared to what you're going to have in future when the revolution comes. He promised Iranians that every person or every family will have a home. You don't have to pay the utilities. It's all free schooling. And mostly he kind of deceived Iranians by saying that I have no interest. I have no interest in running the country, in politics. I am going to go to the holy city of the Qom, which is seminary for all the Ayatollahs go there and learn and teach Islam. But when he arrived on February 1st, 1979, arrived in Tehran, when he got off the airplane, many people thought that his inauguration speech is going to be held at the University of Tehran, which is most dignitaries did. And some people, in fact, went there and gathered at the yard, including the Prime Minister. But he went directly into a large cemetery and he started his first speech. It was then and there when he told Iranians that you must turn your clock, your watches, back 1400 years to the 7th century, during the time of the Prophet Muhammad. He also closed all the movie houses, cinemas, cabarets, clubs. He shut down universities. He told people that you no longer play music. No music on the radio, no music at home, no dancing. He's told the young people that Islam needs blood. And he meant that because he started the war with the neighboring country of Iraq, and the war was Shiite, Sunni, both Muslims. Shiite went against Sunnis, and they young boys from 13, 14, 15 years old. They did not volunteer. They were drafted into that army, and almost 500,000 of them went to the war, went to the sands of Arabia, and did not come back. Did not come back home. The Islamic Revolution. By the way, when I mentioned Islam, uh, the Chai and Chat show is not a religion or a politics, but because most of the things that happened, almost all of them happened and turned the world upside down, it started from my old country, from Iran. It started with the clergies, Arab clergies there. And Khomeini was the leader. The Islamic actually revolution offered Khomeini a splendid opportunity to show how an inspiring religion can make a difference and lead a nation toward a better future. Instead, what he actually put on a show of being a cultivated, superior, and mature human being. But whatever intelligence he had beyond ignorance was not utilized, was not applied. We are, Chai and Chat is having a break at this time. We'll be right back.
Encore un jour qui n'en finit pas, même un jour plein de soleil, loin de toi, s'éternise, mais la nuit un jour qui n'en finit pas, même un jour plein de soleil, loin de toi, s'éternise, mais la nuit, dans tes bras, j'ai mon dos dans tes bras, et la tendresse de toi ne font plus qu'un pour moi. Dans tes tes bras.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Chai and Chat with George Hassan. Chai and Chat is an active voice of the Iranian American community and also serves as the gateway for and to that community throughout the world. I was speaking about the problems that initiated or started from my old country, from Iran, in 1979. And it now is, of course, has the whole world engulfed in it. They started right after the revolution to spend some of the or big a large amount of the oil revenue on terrorists. They went throughout the whole Africa, part of Russia, even China, and Europe, of course, and to spread the unrest, the what they call themselves, they're getting people for the emerge of Imam Mehdi, which is the 12th Imam of the Shiites, and so they want the world to uh, be the kind of world that he comes and with his sword to uh, change the world. But going back to the revolution, many Iranians today they know and they believe that that revolution was not called for. There was no reason for that revolution because the fact that Iran was doing economically was a healthiest among the nations in the Middle East, and with the rapid growing in different areas, and under the Shah Muhammad Reza Pahlavi became an important country to the world. And but the revolution that the mullahs or ayatollahs had, they used religion. They used Islam as a heavy club. I I I want to say a couple of words about my qualification. Why am I qualified to talk about that? I was born and raised as a Shiite in Iran. As a child, I went, or rather, I went with my father to mosque almost every day. I did my duties to Islam. I went to the holy cities. In fact, I went to Mecca, and I got the title of Haji Hassan Zadeh. That's what they call me. With my grandpa. The information about my religion was not available to me while I was in Iran. But when I came outside of that country, I started to look into the religion that I have, that why I don't understand it, why it has to be in a language that I don't, and the whole country does not understand it, why it cannot be in Farsi. And I had many questions that I could not get an answer there. But when I came here, I actually, just like most Muslim coming from that country that don't have the opportunity to explore or to debate Islam, I was in the army here. I got drafted in the army here, and there was a young man in there that he talked about. He asked me what religion, and I told him, and he talked kind of cold and not very complimentary about the Islam, and I was ready to fight him. In fact, I invited him to go outside and let's fight. But after I started to look into it, I I had at my disposal available books and go to the library and started to look into it, and I found out that, well, it is not what I was told there. Here I see things are different. I thought that the whole country are Shiite, so the world of Islam is Shiite. Until I learned that the Shiite is only less than 10% of the entire world Muslims. Sunni, who adhere to the Prophet Muhammad, who are the followers, are 90% of the total Muslims of the world, and they stayed as the followers of the Prophet Muhammad. Uh, they don't use the mosque as a political place as the Shiite in Iran did and are doing. I found out that why such a big difference between the religion, the sect that I had, which is exactly not a branch of Islam, but it's a set of harsh and punitive laws made by some Arabs in Iran. The Shiite religion or cult has its birth in Iran in 1500, 16th century actually. And you could not discuss anything about your religion. You could not debate. If you ask to a question, if you ask to debate, then they accuse you of that you are not a Muslim. If you were a Muslim, you accept what it is as it is, and you don't ask a question about it. This and quite a bit of other negative things that made me to start looking into it. Look into it why. And I found out that there's a big difference between that 10% Muslim Shiite and the 90% which is Sunnis. And that Shiite actually they went outside of the religion of Islam back in 7th century. And I learned here. I was kind of disappointed a little bit there when I was in Iran why they talk so bad about or cold or negative about Sunnis. I didn't know why. They all said that Sunnis are unbelievers, Sunnis are bad, Sunnis are this, Sunnis are that. Until I came here and I found out, well, the less than 10% have always created a problem for the other 90%, which is Sunnis. And it's not the Sunnis who are creating a problem in the world. It's my religion, my people, the 10% that they took hostages, that they spent that money and spend the oil revenue instead of spending on its own people, instead of helping with the education. We're helping people. They put that money into providing terrorists and training terrorists, whether it was in Africa or other places in the world. And I will talk more, hopefully in the future, about the differences between Sunnis and Shiite, about the original like mosque, and why the Shiite of Iran using mosque as a ploy, as a place, and while Sunnis are using it as a house of prayer, and why Shiite are doing all of those things that not supposed to do. My guest next week is a gentleman who is working. He's in election time. He is running for the office of the sheriff department. He is the assistant sheriff. That is very interesting. He will clue us in at what's happening. And I have another gentleman who is also running for the office in California. And we will be back with Chai and Chat and next week. Thank you very much. Happy Mother's Day, by the way, to all the mothers that I forgot.